Is winning the lottery really just luck? These winners would tell you otherwise. Before each of their wins, something strange happened. A sign, a pattern that refused to be ignored. Let's start with the first sign all these winners noticed. Daniel Pierce, a 34-year-old mechanic from Columbus, Ohio, had the same dream 5 nights in a row. 4 numbers, always in the same order. He laughed it off the first night, but then it came back the second night, the third night. By the 5th night, he could not shake it. He wrote the numbers down on a napkin before he even got out of bed, worried he would forget them by breakfast. That weekend, he played them in the Ohio Classic Lotto. 3 of the 4 numbers matched. It was not the jackpot, but it was $20,000, enough to convince him dreams might carry more weight than people think. Scientists call this a hypnagogic pattern, numbers surfacing from the subconscious during sleep, often pulled from memories the dreamer does not even consciously recall. Skeptics call it coincidence, but for Daniel, it was the first sign in a story he would tell for years. This next one is even stranger because it does not happen once. It happens everywhere, all at once. Linda Marsh, a 41-year-old nurse from Austin, Texas, started seeing the number 17 everywhere, on her grocery receipt, on a license plate ahead of her in traffic, on the clock when she happened to glance up, 5:17, every single day that week. She brushed it off at first, but then it kept showing up, even on a prescription label she filled for a patient. By the 4th day, she could not ignore it anymore. She added 17 to her usual combination and played the Texas two-step. The number hit. She walked away with $84,000. Psychologists call this the frequency illusion, your brain locking onto a number once it is primed to notice it, filtering out every instance that does not match. But Linda does not care what it is called. She calls it the moment she started paying attention. The third sign isn't a number at all. It's a feeling, one that hits people who've never even bought a ticket before. Marcus Webb, a 52-year-old accountant from Sacramento, had never played the lottery in his life. Not once, not even for a work pool. But one Tuesday morning, he felt an urge he could not explain, strong enough to make him pull over. He stopped at a gas station on his way to work and bought a single Powerball ticket. He did not tell his wife. He almost felt embarrassed, like he had broken some unspoken rule about himself. But then the numbers came in that Saturday. 4 matched. He won $50,000. Researchers have a term for this, intuitive decision-making, where the brain processes patterns faster than conscious thought can explain or justify. Marcus still does not fully understand what pulled him into that gas station, but he has never missed a drawing since. Most winners buy from the same store every single time. This next sign breaks that habit completely. Renee Castillo, a 29-year-old teacher from Phoenix, always bought her tickets from the same corner store near her apartment. But one afternoon, her usual route was blocked by construction crews tearing up the road. She had to detour to a gas station she had never set foot in before. Annoyed, she bought her ticket there just to get it over with. That ticket became her first big win, $62,000 on a scratch-off she almost did not buy. She later learned that store had sold 3 winning tickets that same month, a statistic the clerk proudly mentioned while handing her the cash. Coincidence, maybe. But Renee believes the detour was not random at all. Sometimes, she says, the universe reroutes you on purpose. Some signs do not come from dreams or numbers. They come from someone else's mouth entirely. Harold Jennings, a 67-year-old retired postal worker from Tampa, was at a family barbecue when his niece's friend, a self-described psychic, pulled him aside. She told him something big was coming his way financially, and soon, without him ever mentioning the lottery at all. She did not ask for money. She did not even ask his name first. He laughed about it the whole drive home, telling himself strangers say things like that to everyone,
But 2 weeks later, he won $110,000 on a scratch ticket his daughter had gifted him as a joke. He never asked the woman her name, he never saw her again, but he still thinks about what she said every time he buys a ticket now. Strangers' predictions are easy to dismiss until one of them turns out true.
This next sign feels less like memory and more like déjà vu. Patricia Hale, a 38-year-old hairdresser from Denver, walked into her usual convenience store and felt an overwhelming sense she had done this exact thing before. Same cashier, the same lighting, the same exact words exchanged, down to the small talk about the weather. She had never experienced déjà vu that intensely. It rattled her enough that she paused before paying, but then she shrugged it off and bought her ticket anyway. That ticket won her $30,000. Neuroscientists suggest déjà vu happens when your brain misfires, tagging a new moment as a memory it has already filed away. But Patricia swears it felt like a warning or a promise. Either way, she has not ignored the feeling since. Most lottery winners trust the machine to pick for them. This next winner broke that habit just once, and it changed everything. Gregory Foss, a 45-year-old warehouse supervisor from Las Vegas, had played quick pick numbers for over a decade, never giving it a second thought. He had never once chosen his own. But one night, sitting at his kitchen table, he felt compelled to write down 6 numbers himself. His mother's birthday, his son's age, the street number of his childhood home. He almost did not submit them. Quick Pick felt safer, more familiar, less like exposing himself to disappointment. But then he second-guessed the safety of habit, and he played his own numbers instead. 5 of the 6 matched. $200,000. He still plays Quick Pick sometimes. But that one night, deviation paid off in a way habit never had. Grief and fortune rarely intersect. But for this next winner, they did, in the strangest way possible. Eleanor Vance, a 58-year-old widow from Pittsburgh, dreamed of her late mother 3 months after she passed away. In the dream, her mother smiled and recited 4 numbers clearly, twice, the way she used to repeat phone numbers over the phone. Eleanor woke up in tears, but she remembered every digit without writing a single one down. She almost did not play them. It felt too painful, too strange, like cashing in on grief itself. But then she decided her mother deserved to be trusted, even from beyond. She added 2 numbers of her own and played the next draw. She won $75,000. She framed the ticket instead of cashing it for weeks, unable to look at it as just paper and ink. To her, it was not just a win, it was a final gift. Sometimes the sign isn't a feeling or a number, it's something you can hold in your hand. Walter Briggs, a 61-year-old fisherman from Charleston, found a rare 2-headed coin on the dock the morning of his birthday. He had never seen anything like it in 40 years of fishing that same pier, and the other fishermen had never seen one either. He pocketed it, half joking that it was good luck. That evening, he bought a ticket using his birth date and the coin's mint year stamped faintly on its edge. He matched 5 numbers, $150,000. He still carries that coin everywhere, tucked into the same pocket of the same jacket. Objects like this become anchors, psychologists say, physical reminders that prime the brain toward optimism and risk-taking. But Walter just calls it his coin. He has never played without it since. For years, some winners avoid the most obvious numbers of all. This next sign proves that hesitation can cost you or finally pay off. Diane Okafor, a 49-year-old librarian from Atlanta, had never once played her late father's birth date in over 20 years of occasional ticket buying. It felt too personal, too sacred to risk on a ticket, like turning a memory into a gamble. But then her son asked why she had never tried it, and she could not give him a good answer. She finally played the date for the first time in her life. 3 numbers matched.
$40,000, she cried in the parking lot, not just from the win, from finally letting herself use the date at all after 2 decades of holding it back. Some signs are not external. Sometimes the sign is simply permission you give yourself.
The next sign before our biggest story is not a feeling exactly. It is something closer to certainty. Thomas Reyes, a 55-year-old contractor from Albuquerque, described the morning of his win as unnervingly calm, almost too quiet for how big the day would turn out to be. No nerves, no doubt, just a quiet knowing that settled in his chest like something already decided. He told his wife at breakfast that something was going to happen that day. She brushed it off as he left for work, used to his offhand comments. But then the call came that evening, and he had won $98,000. He still cannot explain the feeling. It was not excitement, it was not hope, it was certainty, the kind he had never felt before or since, not even at his own wedding or the birth of his children. And that brings us to the biggest story of them all. 12 signs led us here, to the one story where they all collided at once. Sandra Whitfield, a 44-year-old office manager from Charlotte, North Carolina, had spent that entire week feeling like something was building, a tension she could not quite name. On Monday, she dreamed of the number 8 repeated 3 times, each time louder than the last. On Wednesday, she noticed 8 everywhere, receipts, clocks, even her hotel room number on a work trip to Raleigh. By Friday, a coworker joked she had lottery energy all week, not knowing how true that would become. That same Friday, she found an old silver dollar in her coat pocket, one she did not remember putting there and could not trace back to any store or person. She felt the same unshakable certainty Thomas Reyes had described, like the win was already decided before the numbers were drawn. She played 8, 8, and 4 other numbers tied to her children's birthdays. Every single one matched $340,000, the largest win in our entire list. Sandra still says it was not one sign that convinced her. It was all of them, arriving together, impossible to ignore, stacking until she had no choice but to listen. So what do all 12 signs really mean? Every winner on this list noticed something most people walk past without a second thought. A dream, a number, a feeling that refused to fade. Call it intuition, call it pattern recognition, call it luck wearing a disguise. But one thing connects every story here. None of these winners ignored what they noticed. Maybe that is the real lesson. Not that signs guarantee a win, but that paying attention might be the closest thing to luck we can actually control. 12 people noticed. 12 people acted. The dream you almost forget by morning. The number that will not stop showing up. The feeling that something, somehow, is already decided. Tell me, did you ever notice one of these signs?